Welcome in to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, Complete Wealth Management, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. Also presented by Goolsby and Young, Jason Goolsby and JD Young of Blackwell Realty, Fairlife Core Power Protein, Brent Atkinson with White Card Realtors, the Realty Group, and by Sutton Pools. It is a beautiful, beautiful Sunday afternoon. Playoff time is here. Playoff football is here. For most conferences, couple conferences, their last week of games is coming up this Friday night, but a lot of conferences heading into the postseason this Friday night. One conference already had their postseason, the first round of the postseason, so we will talk about that. And let's jump right in. Got a couple good guests today as well. Jason Bragg out of Lancaster Christian. Big win for them last night in the first round of the TSI AA playoffs. We'll talk to him in a little bit, as well as Coach Darius Dixon out of Evangel Christian Montgomery. Big conference win for them over North River Christian on Friday night. And so they have a game this Friday night against Southern Prep. And essentially it's basically to see where the first round playoff will take place at between Southern Prep and Evangel Christian, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Let's jump into some scores from this past weekend, and we will start over in the Heartland Conference. Teams out of Arkansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Oklahoma, and I think there's some Kansas in there too. So on Thursday, Crossover Prep took on Claremore Christian. Crossover Prep got a 60-22 win. And then there was a game on Friday between Destiny Christian and Ryan High School. Do not have a score for that one yet. On Saturday, 3 games took place. You had a Unity Christian, 2 games took place. We were going to get Unity Christian out of Mississippi taking on Abundant Life. Unity Christian decided to forfeit, so Abundant Life with another win. They stay unbeaten. I believe they're 7-0 currently. And looking pretty good over in the Heartland Conference. You also had Trinity Christian taking on Arkansas Christian, and Trinity got the 50-12 win. Another game that happened in that area. A former Heartland Conference team, Cornerstone Spartans, taking on Wichita Homeschool, the Wichita Warriors. I'm trying to remember the name. I think that their conference is the Kansas Christian Athletic Association, something to that effect. But the Wichita Warriors got the 68-20 win over the Cornerstone Spartans. And speaking of the Heartland Conference, did get an update on the way that their postseason works. Let me pull it up real quick. All right, so they actually do a voting system. All the coaches vote on standings, and they have 2 divisions based on size. So they have the 2A and 3A. Currently in the 2A, and this is before the games this past weekend. So currently in 2A, Crossover Prep, who got that win on Thursday night, they are the number 1 seed in 2A. Southwest Christian is the Crossover Prep is the number 1 seed. Southwest Christian is the number 2 seed. Unity Christian at 3, Claremore at 4, Arkansas Kansas at 5, and Cross Christian at 6. Over in 3A, Abundant Life is the number 1 seed. Sunrise Christian is 2, Destiny 3, Trinity 4, and Life 5. So the way their playoffs work is the top 2 seeds from both 1A and 2A will have home playoff games, and then the 3 and 4 seeds from both divisions will travel to those 1 and 2 seeds. So if the playoffs started this week, which they don't, they start next week. But if they started this week, you would have Claremore Christian taking on Crossover Prep, which, again, that game just happened this past Thursday. Crossover Prep got a big, what did I say the score was? It was, let's see. It was 60-22. Crossover Prep with a win over Claremore. And then you would also have, make sure this is good. Yep, we're good. And then, so you would have Claremore Christian at Crossover Prep, and then Unity Christian at Southwest Christian. And then in the 3A division, you would have Trinity Christian at Abundant Life Christian and Destiny Christian at Sunrise Christian. So that's if the playoffs started today in the Heartland Conference. Let's bounce over to, let's go to Alabama because quite a bit is happening down in Bama. We'll talk about ACSC first. So we had 2 games this past weekend. 3 games involving ACSC teams. One of the games was for divisional seeding, was for a playoff spot. The other 2 were non-conference games. So the divisional game between Ezekiel Academy and Southern Christian, the winner was going to get the 4 seed and would have the pleasure, absolute pleasure, of traveling to Alabaster to take on the number 1 ranked Evangel Christian School Lightning. Ezekiel, the Knights, ended up getting the win over the Patriots of Southern Christian 49-26. So Ezekiel will head to Evangel. They faced each other many, many times over the last couple postseasons. And Ezekiel's gotten the upper hand a couple times. So this is a big one for them. A little bit different situation, though. Ezekiel coming in as the 4 seed. And Evangel, that 1 seed, they will host that first round. They will also host the championship game, barring a loss, of course. Or they might host it all the way through. I'll have to double check on it. Speaking of them, they hosted the Carolina Wildcats out of Pickens, South Carolina, and Lightning with a 49-0 win. Got to give props to the Carolina Wildcats making the trip. I believe they said it was 4.5 hours with 8 or 9 guys to still play that game. Still fulfill their commitment, and another big win for the Lightning. And then you had East Central Homeschool. They were hosting Meadowview Christian. East Central has already locked in the number 2 seed in those ACSC playoffs, and they got a big win over Meadowview Christian, 67-0. And of course, Lighthouse Homeschool was off this week, had the bye week. Let's bounce over to the AISA. Had a couple big games happening over there on Friday night. I mentioned you had Evangel Christian Montgomery. Let's see if I can get that pulled up. Evangel Christian Montgomery was they took on Cornerstone Christian, and it was Lions over the Knights, 42-30. I'm sorry, over the Chargers, 42-30. I mentioned East Central Homeschool over Meadowview Christian. Southern Prep hosted Trinity Christian Homeschool, independent team. They're out of Pelham. And it was the Fighting Rangers 41, Eagles nothing. And then a big congratulations is in order to Springwood School. They've clinched the regular season portion of the AISA schedule. They are the regular season champs, and they are the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. They got the 52-6 win over North River Christian. So North River Christian currently is the 4 seed. We'll go over playoff seeding here in a little bit. Let's jump over to the CFA or the ACAA is the athletic branch. The ACEA is the academic branch, and then CFA is the football part. So this past Friday night, 2 games involving CFA teams. Not a whole lot of action, quite a few teams off, but they were all conference games. You had Victory Christian taking on Success Unlimited. Both teams winless in conference play, and Victory Christian came down to Montgomery out of Columbus, Mississippi, got the 36-13 win over the Mustangs. So Victory closes out the season with a win. Meanwhile, it was a huge matchup between Tabernacle Christian, the Torches, and the Cornerstone Christian Eagles out of Rainsville. The winner, if Tabernacle won, they would get the number 3 seed in the CFA playoffs. Tuscaloosa would have 4. If Tabernacle won, if Cornerstone Rainsville won, there was a whole mess of tiebreaker and how it would sort out. Tabernacle handled business, though. Cornerstone hung in there, and they made it. I believe they were in the lead at one point, but the Torches got the 30-20 win over the Eagles, so the Torches lock in their playoff spot. Let's bounce to South Carolina, where the Pack Panthers have clinched the number 1 seed in that conference, and they emphatically, if there was any question, they for sure locked it in Friday night. They got the 42-8 win over the Augusta Eagles. Pack Panthers finishing after that game at 8-1, and then Coastal Hurricanes got a win over Harvest Christian 46-12. So Coastal, as of right now, Coastal will be the second seed. Pack Panthers have the first seed. Let's look at the NCISAA real quick, because we did broadcast a Cary Christian game early on in the season. Of course, John Paul II Catholic School, one of those other teams, having a great year. I believe they're unbeaten as well. But JP2 got the win over Cary Christian 56-18 to lock up number one seed in that division as well. And then on Friday night, couple good games. You had Wayne Christian, who came up from the Big 8 conference last year. They beat Faith Christian 48-16. And then another close one, Arundel Parrott Academy got the win over Rocky Mount Academy 38-35. So a big win there. You know what? I'm kind of curious on Arundel Parrott. What is their? They are the Patriots. So Patriots over Eagles 38-35. Let's go to the state. Let's come back to the state of Tennessee, rather. And I mentioned a couple playoff games happening this past weekend. On Friday night, it was Christian Community playing host to Grace Baptist. Grace Baptist got a win over Providence Christian a couple weeks ago, got in a position to get the second round, the second seed in the playoffs, rather, have a first round bye. And then last week took the loss to Lancaster Christian on the road. So Grace had to travel to Christian Community, and it was Colts getting the home win 60-24, and that's huge for the Colts. First round win in a couple years for CCS. So congratulations on that win to them. And then last night, South Haven Christian out of Springfield and traveled to Lancaster Christian in Smyrna. And a big matchup there. They had a great game during the regular season. Patriots beat the Knights 30-26, if I'm not mistaken. But last night at home, it was the Knights getting the job done, 24-14. Lancaster Christian will move on in the playoffs. They will be taking on Providence Christian in the second round at Providence. And then Christian Community will be on the road at Franklin Christian Academy. Let's go to the SEC. Three big conference games this past Friday night. Of course, you had the Independence Bowl between the Freedom Cowboys and Tennessee Heat. That game, I believe this is the third or fourth edition of that game, and it was in Huntsville. Cowboys got a big 42-13 win over the Heat. Both teams are the number one seeds in their division, Freedom in the South, Heat in the North. So a big win for the Cowboys to move their record, I believe, to 8-1. I'll double-check that here in a minute. Zion Christian traveled to Jackson to take on Sacred Heart, and it was win and you're in. The winner was headed to the Tennessee Heat. Sacred Heart took a initial 20-0 lead, is my understanding, and then Zion came roaring back, took a 26-20 lead, and Sacred Heart on the final drive of the game, unable to get it done. So congratulations to the Eagles. They are moving to the playoffs. And then Franklin Classical School hosted Tri-Cities Christian. And the Eagles in their first year of play on the road. And it was the Knights getting a big 48-6 win. So Classical, that was a win in your end game too. So Classical will head to the Freedom Cowboys. We'll go over the playoff schedule coming up later on in the show. Let me bounce over to one of the best Facebook pages out there, especially for 8-man football scores. National High School Tournament 8-man football is the page, and of course you can find final scores on there after the fact. So I'm going to run through some of these that may have missed. Let's see. So KC East is on their rankings. They got a win over Northland Christian 80-6. Hillcrest Christian moved to 500 on their season with a 42-24 win over Parker's Chapel. Let's see. St. Mary's over Cornerstone Family 28-6. Let's check on yesterday. Southwest Louisiana Homeschool got the 44-0 win over Acadiana Christian. Fort Wayne Crusaders, King Crusaders 55, Parkview Christian 8. And there was one other game, and I don't see the score for, so I'll have to check on that here in a moment. Real quick, though, let's run through how the playoffs look for each conference. So, pardon me. Let me get down to my standings. So, I mentioned Lancaster Christian will be on the road at Providence Christian. Christian Community will be headed to Franklin Christian. And then Ezekiel Academy is on the road at Evangel Christian. Lighthouse Homeschool on the road at East Central. I'm going to save the rest of these for later on in the show to go over the standings. Right now, though, I want to pull up the national rankings, go over those real quick because a couple of them have changed. Not a ton, but a couple of them. It's worth noting It's worth going over those. It's worth noting. So, if I can get both of them pulled up here. If it'll cooperate with me. Okay. See if I can get this pulled up. Let's see. Had them pulled up here. There we go. All right. So, let's do a split screen here. All right. Now that is squared away. So, Evangel Christian. So, starting at 1, Evangel Christian, Russell Christian, Freedom Cowboys, Franklin Christian, Jacksonville Christian, KC East, John Paul the Great out of Louisiana, Fort Wayne King Crusaders, and Manhattan Eagles. 1 through 9 all stay where they were. A little bit of movement. Springwood School is now number 10 with a big win on Friday night. They move up from number 11. And then basically those little clump here, Springwood, Lighthouse Homeschool, Tabernacle, and Hillcrest, they've all moved up a spot. And the Cornerstone Family Saints out of Topeka, Kansas, have dropped from number 10 to number 14. So Lighthouse at 11, Tabernacle 12, Hillcrest 13, and then I mentioned Cornerstone Family, the Saints at 14, and then at 15 and 16, Tennessee Heat and Lancaster Christian have flip-flopped. So Lancaster moves from 16 to 15. Tennessee Heat go from 15 to 16. Pack Panthers stay at 17. Cornerstone Christian Rainsville has actually dropped down to, number 24. So every team above them has moved up, with the exception of, there's somebody in here. All right, so Christian Community has moved up to number 18. Grace Baptist has dropped to 21. Ezekiel Academy has jumped from 22 to 19. And then Southern Prep is number 20, so they move up a little bit. I mentioned Grace Baptist at 21. Providence Christian drops to number 22 from 21. Southwest Louisiana Homeschool moves up to 23 from 25. Cornerstone Christian Rainsville, I mentioned, they are at 24. And then East Central Homeschool is at 25. And so the team that dropped out of the top 25 would be Cornerstone Christian Columbiana. And they have dropped down to number 26. So there are your national rankings. So top 10 right now, Evangel Christian out of Alabaster, Russell Christian out of Meridian, Mississippi, Freedom Cowboys, Franklin Christian, Jacksonville Christian, KC East, John Paul the Great, Fort Wayne King Crusaders, Manhattan Eagles, and Springwood School. So you've got, one ACSE school, you've got 2 CFA schools, an SEC, a TSIAA, a Kansas Christian Athletic Association, the conference that KC East is in. John Paul the Great is out of the ACEL, the Acadiana Christian Educators League, I believe is the acronym for that. Fort Wayne King Crusaders, I believe, are independent. Manhattan Eagles are out of the same conference as KC East. And Springwood School coming out of the ACSC. So really, really exciting times for 8-man about this time of year, and of course, um, we are only a couple weeks away from that national tournament in Panama City, Florida. So really, really excited about that. I think we have the games this upcoming weekend. Oh, that really boosted the volume there. There we go. Let's bring that back down. So we have the games upcoming this weekend, and then the next weekend where there's some championship games, and then the weekend after that is the national tournament. So really, really excited with that coming up. We're in a great time of football right now. A lot of great matchups should be coming up as well. And I think that's all the scores from this past weekend. So you know what? I am going to go ahead and go through some of the playoff standings. I was going to wait till later on in the show, but I'm going to go ahead and go through those real quick. I'll just go through the seeding. So for teams, for conferences that have not started playoffs, Evangel is 1, East Central 2, Lighthouse Homeschool 3, Ezekiel Academy 4 for the ACSC. In the SEC, you've got Freedom Cowboys at 1 and Zion Christian at 2 in the South Division, and then Sacred Heart of Jesus High School at 3. In the North Division, Tennessee Heat at 1, Franklin Classical School at 2, and Tri-Cities Christian at 3. In the CFA, Russell Christian is number 1, Jacksonville Christian is 2, Tabernacle Christian is number 3, and Tuscaloosa Christian is number 4. And then in the AISA, Springwood School is number 1. Southern Prep and Evangel Christian Montgomery have a big game coming up this Friday night for that number 1 seed. And then North River, or number 2 seed rather, and then North River Christian is the 4 seed. And then I mentioned in the SIFA, Pack Panthers are the 1 seed, Coastal Hurricanes are the 2 seed, and then I believe it's the Augusta Eagles at 3, and then Harvest Christian at 4. And let me make sure I didn't miss any of the conferences. TSIAA's playoffs are currently going on right now, so seeding is already set in terms of that. I'm going to go ahead and queue up my first guest. Let's see.
Your call has been forwarded.
Oh, well, that's a first. Oh, man. Well, hopefully he'll call back and we'll be able to get Coach Darius Dixon on the phone from over at Evangel Christian Montgomery. I'll turn that down real quick just in case he does call back. All right, we'll get him on in a few minutes. Coach Dixon wrapping up a few things. So, want to take some time to go over the national tournament in Panama City Beach, Florida. For those that aren't familiar with how it works, of course, no official confirmation of which teams will be there. You got to think Evangel Christian, defending champs. They got to go defend their title. Past that, I mean, personal speculation, I would say maybe in a perfect world, and I know this is not going to happen, in a perfect world, you would have the Freedom Cowboys down there, or Tennessee Heat, whoever wins the SEC. And this is having 8 teams, 2 divisions. So Freedom Cowboys, you would have, I would think you would bring in Russell Christian and Franklin Christian, but I believe Russell Christian is not going to make the trip. So let's say Franklin Christian's down there, so that's 3 teams, and I think you could bring in not KC East because they have their championship game that weekend, unless they get knocked out of the playoffs, and then they could still make the trip down. But and I think that would be very advantageous. They are a great football team. Doesn't look like they'll lose anytime soon, but they're a great football team. So Evangel Christian, Freedom Cowboys / Tennessee Heat, and who did I say? Franklin Christian. So Franklin Christian wins the TSIAA, and if they come down, and then I think you could bring in the Fort Wayne King Crusaders out of Indiana. I think that would be a good top four. Your Division two. Let's see who could they who could it be? I think you could look at possibly bringing in like John Paul the Great, and you could do. You, see, here's the thing: you got so many good teams that could come down. John Paul the Great out of Louisiana, they are unbeaten at 7-0, I believe. But they might still be 6-0. No, I think they are 7-0. Let me double check that real quick. Let's see. Hmm. Because I believe the update is on there for the ACEL, the Association of Christian Educators of Louisiana. By the way, is the proper name for them. Okay, so playoffs this past weekend. John Paul the Great. They did get a win over Mount Olive Christian. I don't know how I missed that one. Let me look and see. Let's see. Look it up on Max Preps here. Mount Olive Christian. Should come up. There it is. All right. So, like I said, I believe John Paul the Great got the win Thursday night, but let's verify that. Yes, John Paul the Great got the 72-0 win. It was actually on Friday night over Mount Olive Christian. So John Paul the Great Academy is currently 7-0. And then so that Division 2, I mean, you could hypothetically do, so if Freedom wins SEC and ends up going, then Tennessee Heat could come and play in the Division 2. Or vice versa. Freedom Cowboys could be Division 2. John Paul the Great could come down and play in the game. I think Springwood doesn't match up time wise. Hillcrest Christian's an independent team. They are 5-5. I don't know. Maybe they could make the trip. What really stinks is you have teams like Abundant Life Christian out of Arkansas, KC East out of Missouri, and Pack Panthers out of South Carolina. All three of those conferences, the championship game is on the 12th, the second day of nationals. So that really kind of stinks. But for those that aren't familiar with the tournament, all the teams will arrive on Friday. They'll have like an opening welcome greeting kind of meeting on Saturday. You'll have the first round of games, however many games. Like last year, you had 4 games, starting at 10, running till the last game started at 7, I believe. And then Sunday, you're off. A lot of people do church services. Of course, we'll have a live show that evening from the Promised Land Chapel, and that's always a lot of fun. And then on Monday, you'll have the second round of the tournament, championship games, consolation games, and that's always a lot of fun. So, let's see, let's try Coach Dixon again.
Coach Dixon.
Joining me now is the head coach of Evangel Christian Academy out of Montgomery, Alabama. They've got a massive game coming up this Friday night against Southern Prep. Coach Darius Dixon. Coach, I appreciate you taking time to join me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Coach, for those that aren't familiar with yourself and your program, for those that don't know, there is another Evangel in Alabama. You guys are having a pretty solid season. So let's get everybody familiar with your program, and then maybe a little bit about yourself as well and your coaching background.
Okay, yes. This is my second season here at Evangel Christian Academy located in Montgomery, Alabama. Coming off a tremendous year last year, made it to the championship as far as the CFA league.
For sure, yeah.
Came up short, so we're just looking to make that change again and make that run again in AISA.
Coach, whenever AISA decided that they were going to adopt 8-man football, what kind of discussions were had between yourself, maybe the administration, maybe even with the kids to try to see which direction you guys? Obviously, everybody knows which direction you went this year, but what kind of discussions were had, and what was kind of the selling point, or how did everybody get on board with the direction you guys went this year?
Uh, yes, we looked at the success we had last year as far as 8 man and determined the numbers we were bringing back, and just wanted to keep everybody hopes alive as well. We are looking forward to transitioning back over to 11 man, but we'll renegotiate that within 2 years and see where that lands.
For sure, yeah, yeah. Now, speaking of of you guys having a solid season, you guys have playmakers all over the place. Of course, a couple weeks ago, we got to see your quarterback absolutely ball out. But you guys have another guy that not a lot of people know about. I guess if you've played him or you've scouted him, you know about him. And I don't want to ruin y'all secret weapon over there. But you guys have a defensive end, and I say defensive end. He plays offense. He catches touchdowns. But you guys have a guy being scouted by some Division I teams, Nee Addy. Um,
That's correct.
I want to get your thoughts a little bit about and talk a little bit about that young man, because it seems like there's a lot of it seems like for a lot of kids there would be some temptation to maybe not take coaching, or to maybe say, look, coach, I'm already here. I don't, why am I listening, or why am I playing 8 man? Why am I doing this, this stuff? It seems like he's got a fantastic attitude, whether it comes to coaching or being in the situation that he's in, and maybe that's what some of what's attractive to college coaches. But talk about that young man a little bit.
Yeah, Niadi, senior 6'3", 250.
Woo!
Uh, yeah,
That's a big
man
boy.
child, man child, big boy. Indeed. Um, he has the potential to play the next level, D1 level at that. Um, he's hungry for the game, hungry for the game. Um, People approach him about why he's not playing 11 man here and there, you know. Um, but he has a positive attitude. He's ready. He comes every day ready to work, ready to work.
Well, it seems like a guy like that would make your other players better, because my thinking would be they'd want to play up to that level of competition. They want to embrace the challenge of, hey, we've got this really good player here. Why would we not try our best? So in terms of that, you guys have a bunch of ballers all over the field. Like I said, we got to see them a couple weeks ago. They've been doing great things for y'all over the last couple weeks in terms of getting you guys in an awesome place for an awesome situation with the postseason. So talk about a couple of the guys that maybe have taken a leadership role, or have stepped up this season. Maybe even guys you didn't even think would do so, and have absolutely played lights out, and kind of raised this team to another level.
Well, we have 5 seniors. Out of those 5 seniors, 4 of them are role players. I can say that. Stepping up big for us this year has been the 10th grader, Markevian Johnson,
Yes,
as you
sir.
mentioned, played
Yeah.
quarterback, played defensive back. He's all over the field, all over the field, flying around, making plays, brings that energy as well to the team. Joshua Love, he's a senior. Matter of fact, I believe we missed him the first 3 games of the season.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but ever since he's came back, he's probably just about average 2 interceptions a game.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that's huge for us. We
Yeah.
like to cause turnovers, and he's helping us out.
Well, and especially whenever you can turn change those turnovers into points. That's a 14-point swing right there.
Hmm.
You mentioned 5 seniors. You got a couple other guys or maybe some underclassmen.
Yes, Jordan Sharp, he's another senior, running back. Matter of fact, he rushed for 200 some yards. What game was that? North River.
North River, yeah.
Hmm. And then also we have a 6'4", 270 offensive lineman, Antonio Pruitt. He's been pretty solid for us on that front in the trenches as well. Some more young guys we have coming along. We have 2 freshmen, Brandon Fuller and Jaden Davis, playing on the defensive side of the ball. So we're young, but hey, they're going to be ready.
Hi, in my experience, coach, it doesn't matter if you're young, if you're hungry and having fun, and you're willing to learn. It seems like that's almost the most dangerous combination for a team is being young, being hungry, and wanting to learn and having fun. It seems like you guys are having fun these last couple weeks, coming into a game like Friday night with with Southern Prep, where it's basically to see where that first round play out because you guys are going to play each other first round. It's basically to see where that game's going to be. What kind of things are going to be? What kind of things are you going to tell the guys this week? What are you guys going to work on going up against a fighting Rangers team that they've had their lumps. They've hit a couple rocky patches too, but at the same time they're not an unbeatable team.
Yes, agree. Just polishing up on the things that we do and just focusing on our game itself. Um, Last week we rushed for almost close to 600 yards just rushing.
Right.
Only threw for probably 50 yards. So if we can continue to, control the clock, manage the field, we'll be all right. And I already expressed to the team uh, probably about 3 weeks ago that when we learn to play for the person next to us, we'll be a scary team. So and I believe they bought into that, and we're starting to have fun as you see.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You like you said, you play for the guy next to you. You play for everything you represent, and you kind of leave it all on the table. Throughout the season, you guys have not shied away from, of course, AISA with only 5 teams. So in order to get a little fuller schedule, you got to go outside your conference a little bit. But you guys haven't shied away from non-conference games. You've played the 11-man game against Coosa Valley, which, that was a close one,
Yeah.
14-12. You took on Evangel Christian early to kick off the season. Ezekiel Academy, a team that's been solid, for several years in the ACSC. You guys have not shied away from that non-conference schedule, and of course, all 3 of the games didn't go your way. But do you think there were things that your guys learned or picked up on through those games, playing that level of competition, to where you guys were able to apply it, like I said, to the last couple weeks, where you guys went to North River, got the win, went to Cornerstone and got the win?
Yes. At the end of the day, they realize that we can go out there and compete with anybody. It's just you gotta want it. You gotta want it.
Have there been any talks about where the AISA, of course, is their first year of 8-man? Have there been any talks amongst the team where you guys say, hey, listen, this is the first time they've done it. We could go on a run. It seems like you guys are getting hot at the right time. You could go on a run and take a shot at that championship. You guys are a completely different team than the team that played Springwood earlier in the season. From everything I've seen, has there been any talk about, hey, we could do something, we could be the first? Of course, obviously, coming off the backs of going to that championship game last year instead, and a lot of those guys coming back.
Yes. You mentioned Springwood. That was the second game of the season. Ever since the second game, we actually haven't had a full team. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, even last week we didn't have a full team. So we're looking just to bounce back and bring everybody on, catch them up to speed. And I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting.
These young guys coming into this year, and I talked about it a little bit before at the beginning. You guys made the decision to stay 8-man, to go AISA and take that route. Those young guys, was there any having that success last year? Was there any struggle to get these young guys on board, or were they just like, look, let's roll, let's play some ball, let's go leave it out there?
It goes back to the summer and having those leaders like Niadi, Josh Love, Jordan Sharp, and some more pieces that were added to the team that showed that leadership and uh, was showing everybody, make sure they're accountable for everybody as well. Um, Texting, calling, checking on them, making sure, hey, you're gonna be there.
Yeah, it's that accountability. That accountability is what you're saying is really key. Those older guys, when you don't have that, I think it seems like you really, that really shows itself when you don't have that accountability. But you guys have it, and here throughout the last part of the season, especially, it seems like that's really come to the forefront. Everybody's kind of holding everybody accountable. Do your job, know your role, as The Rock would say, and kind of go out there and handle business. It really seems like that's really come through for you guys.
Yes, yes, and just being disciplined on both sides of the ball as well.
Now you guys have a couple of games this here the last couple weeks where conference games. Did you guys set the schedule? Who sets the schedule? AISA or you guys?
Little both, a little both.
A little bit of both. Okay.
Yeah,
Because I was wondering. I mean, it's almost kind of advantageous for you guys. It goes both ways. I mean, I guess if you go through the season playing non-conference, you get banged up. You get to the conference schedule, now you're banged up. But on the other hand, what happens with you guys is you go through the first part of the season, have a couple conference games, win a couple, win one, lose one, but then you get to the backside of your schedule when your guys are clicking on all cylinders, you get hot. Now you hit your conference games and the games that matter for the postseason. It seems like that's really worked out for you guys, and made it to where, like I said, you guys have gotten hot at just the right time where everything's clicking. Your guys are on the same page. You've gotten guys coming back from injury. It seems like that's really worked out for y'all.
it has, it has. Like you said, peaked at the right time, and just keeping everybody in a positive mindset. So that's been our goal each week, each day of practice, just keeping them positive, keeping them alert, keeping them locked in.
Now, you guys, let me see real quick. Did you guys play Southern Prep last year?
No, we didn't.
I was about to say I didn't think you had. Um, First time playing a team like this, and obviously don't want you to give anything away because Coach Rowland probably will be listening. Don't want you to give anything away, but what are some things that you're going to work with? I think I asked a little bit earlier, but is there something specific that you say, hey, if our guys can do this Friday night, we are going to handle business, and we're going to make sure that first round playoff game is at our place.
Basically, just being disciplined, trusting your teammates to make their play, and you're not trying to make their play for them. Staying in, trusting your eyes, your hands, your hips, and your feet as well when you're flying around on defense. Uh, Offensive wise, just staying with the block, protecting the ball, making right decisions.
How big would it be to get that first round playoff game at you guys' place where your guys can kind of keep a routine down and kind of have things that are familiar to them on game day? How big would that be as opposed to having to go on the road?
Oh, it'll be huge. It'll be huge coming, especially coming off of three away games.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for sure.
that'll be huge just to host the first round as well.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me. One more thing I wanted to ask. I don't know if you guys at what point start looking forward to your schedule next year. Obviously, there's a ton of eight-man teams there in Alabama, and you guys have played some of the best. But is there somebody that you look at maybe for next year and go, look, I know what I have coming back. I know, where our program's at. I know where they're at. I really, really want a chance to play these guys, or maybe somebody outside the state of Alabama. Is there anybody that comes to mind that you go, man, I really, really would love the chance to play these guys?
Not at the moment, but I'm open. I'm always open. Doors always open. Phone call away. So not at the moment, but I am open for anything.
There you go. Hey, that's all that matters sometimes. It's just the fact that you're ready. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me, and good luck. Guys. You guys got a massive game Friday night against Southern Prep, and hoping all the best of luck to you guys, and hope you guys handle business.
All right, thank you.
Coach, I appreciate you. That's
All
Coach
right, bye.
Darius Dixon out of Evangel Christian Montgomery. The Lions on a two-game win streak, and they head to Southern Prep, like I mentioned. Max Preps has the game at Evangel Christian. Yeah, so the game's at Evangel Christian. Southern Prep is on the road. They had three straight away games. Southern Christian out of Opelika, North River Christian out of Tuscaloosa, the game we were at, and then the game against Cornerstone Christian, Columbiana. So big game. They'll be the Fighting Rangers and the Lions. They'll play each other twice, two times in 2 weeks, and could be both games are at Evangel Christian. Could be one game's at in Montgomery. The other game is in Camp Hill. So we'll have to see how that sorts out. All right. Let's see here. Let's look down. Try to see if there's any anybody else that I missed in terms of the postseason coming up? I don't think so. So, we'll run through. Let's run through some of the postseason schedule here for the next weekend as we wait a little bit. Oh, here's something. Here's something I do want to talk about before we talk about the postseason stuff. Um, a very special message for I'll say maybe one person, and if you listen, you know who you are. But um, after last year, I want to talk about something after last year and what happened with the conference here in Tennessee, banning us from the postseason. A lot of people asked if we would be doing postseason games for that conference, like the game that happened last night. And my whole stance with it is that the last thing I heard is that we were banned. It didn't just say this postseason. Um, so until other word is received, um, probably won't be planning on doing postseason games for the TSIAA, and honestly won't be doing a lot of playoff games at all. In general, of course, Seek has their two games on Saturday, one at 12, one at 7. So we'll be doing those games, and then of course championship games next weekend. But yeah, I mean, it was wild. I actually had somebody last year or earlier this year, really. Um, got on the phone with them, and they said, "Man, after what happened, after last year, I figured, you were done. You were going to shut down and close up shop." And that's not the case at all. Trust me. There's bigger fish in the pond. There's way bigger fish in the pond. And I'd like to give a huge thank you. There's been a lot of travel. It's been a grind. It's been a lot of work. But there's been so many teams that are hospitable. This last Friday night, getting to go down to Rome, Georgia, and catch a little Gaps football between Unity Christian and Fidelis Christian. Getting to talk to Coach Humphreys, who, by the way, congratulations on his 100th win. That's huge. Good job for the coach. But getting to talk to Coach Humphreys and Coach Templeton from Fidelis Christian, getting to experience the hospitality of those folks down there and the way everyone accepted us and welcomed us and treated us, it was awesome. And that's how it's been all season. No matter where we've gone, it's been open arms. Hey, how can we help? What can we do? So on and so forth. So I want to give a big, big thank you to every game that we've gone to this year, whether we were in a press box or in the stands or whatever, because there wasn't a press box. It's been huge, and I really, really appreciate it. It's meant a lot. So, no, last season did not make it to where we shut down. Matter of fact, this is season number 9 of 8-Man Extremes coverage of 8-man football this year all across the South. Because, like I said, there's bigger fish in the pond. Way bigger fish in the pond. So, there's that. Going to step aside for a couple moments, and then when we come back, we'll bring in our guest for 5 o'clock, Coach Jason Bragg out of Lancaster Christian. This is Extreme Talk presented by Complete Real Estate, Complete Wealth Management, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. Also presented by Fairlife Core Power Protein, Jason Goolsby and J.D. Young of Blackwell Realty, Brent Atkinson with Wycard Realtors, the Realty Group, and by Sutton Pools. This is Extreme Talk presented by Complete.
the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I run.
Welcome back to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate and Complete Wealth Management, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. Let's go ahead and get our next head coach on the phone. Get that good old ringtone sound.
Hello.
Joining me now is my next guest. He is the head coach of Lancaster Christian Academy in Smyrna, Tennessee, the Knights, with a big playoff win last night over the South Haven Christian School Patriots. It's Coach Jason Bragg. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me.
Yeah, no problem, man. How you guys doing?
Good, man. This is the hardest man to nail down. You guys have no idea how long I've been trying to get this interview. And a little funny backstory. He told me last week, he said, if we beat the Patriots, you've got me. And as soon as the game was over last night, I texted him. I said, do you want to come on at 5:30 or 4:30 or 5 o'clock? And he is a man of his word, so I do appreciate that. Coach,
yeah, no problem. You were the first of about 27 texts I had last night. So
I'm glad
you letting me know.
I'm glad I popped in right there, number one. Just kind of get my space. I bet you got a lot of texts last night. A huge win for you guys. And when you look back over last season or over this past season, you guys played earlier on up in Springfield, and it didn't go your way. So when you guys found out that you had South Haven again, of course you were at home with that great crowd, but what was the message with your guys all week, and what were you guys working on going up against a team that had your number earlier on in the season, or at least not had your number but got the win over you guys early in the season?
I think for our guys, and the message we've been speaking to our guys is redemption. Just another chance to play another ball game, and especially to play a team that they got the best of us the first time around. A lot of respect for those guys and what they do. I just, we didn't feel like that we probably gave our best effort that night, and we lost Deuce in the second half really, really early, and had a little brother come in and did a great job for us. We just, we didn't give our best effort that night and just wanted a second shot.
Well, and that's awesome that you guys got that, and so a lot of teams don't get that. They come up, even especially when it's a close game, you want another shot at that team, and a lot of teams don't get that. You guys got that and took advantage of that. What was the reaction with the guys after the game in terms of, obviously, you want to keep it in check, but what was the reaction of the guys, especially your seniors, that this is their last shot, and last night could have been the end of their high school career? How did your guys feel?
Our guys are excited. They're excited to get to play another week. They're excited to get a win over somebody that got us earlier in the year. Our seniors last night, that's the last time those guys will don the LCA blue. It's the last time they'll ever step on that field. So
yeah.
Pretty special night for them. Some of those guys have been around. Deuce has been around for 5 years, and we got a couple other guys that's been around for 4. So big night for them. Big night for them.
Speaking of those guys, want to give you a chance to promote those guys, hype those guys, because everybody knows about Deuce. We've seen Deuce over the last few years just balling at another level. Yeah, last year you guys made it to the conference championship. You guys have gotten playoff wins over the last couple of years, but there's been other guys that have played roles, and they played roles last night. I want to give you a chance to promote and hype up some of those guys, maybe and guys that have performed at another level throughout the whole season.
Yeah, our senior class is a pretty special class for us. It's a great group of kids. Jacob Ingram plays defensive end for us and tight end. He's pretty much our 2-point specialist, man. We're, I guess everybody in the conference knows that's where we're going. We're going for that 2-point conversion, and does a great job at defensive end. Ryan Arrington is a senior as well. Has been with us 3 or 4 years. Kicks for us, plays fullback, plays linebacker, plays D-back. He's played every position for us. Back and center. Andrew Leverett, big, does a good job for us. Had a big night last night. Had a touchdown catch. Had a catch. His touchdown catch last night. I don't know if it sealed the deal, but it put the momentum back in our favor
for sure. Yeah.
And really helped us out. Obviously, Deuce had a big night. Got hurt halfway through, but was able to come back in and finish the game for us. So our senior crew, our senior crew does a great job. Michael Westmoreland also plays D-back for us and plays some tailback, kind of plays everywhere as well. And he's had a great season this year. He's got beat a couple of times on some deep balls, but
Right.
Physical kid, loves to play the game, and just all around, all five of them, man, just great kids.
Well, and you guys last year losing guys like Lane Spurlock, Trey Justice, some of your guys in the trenches. You knew there were going to have to be more guys stepping up this year and guys having to kind of shift roles around. I think everyone kind of looked at everything you lost and went, well, yeah, they have Deuce, but who else do they have? The guys you just mentioned are the guys that have stepped up, and they've really shown out. And someone like Ryan, that's such a weapon for you guys at kicker because he's not giving you the 20, 30-yard kickoffs or having to do the onside kicks. He can bomb it, and he can really put your defense in a great position.
Yes, yeah. He had. I think we punted one time last night, and I think he hit one for 54 yards last night.
Wow.
Or maybe we punted twice. I think we punted twice. So I think his average was 48. And South Haven did a good job last night stopping our run game. We were pinned pretty deep. I think we were probably on R10 and hit one for 54 last night, and just swung the field possession for us, and was huge kick. If I had three highlights, that would be one of the highlights from last night for sure.
I bet that'd make Pat McAfee so happy. He would just be on cloud nine right there. There you go.
Yeah. He boomed one last night. So.
Hey, I want to talk about Deuce real quick. Everybody's seen him start and ball out the last few years, and going into his senior year, everyone said, okay, what can he do to top? Obviously, the answer would be more than likely winning a championship because he went to the championship game, had a great game. You guys have been to the playoffs, won playoff games the last few years. Everybody was saying, okay, what can he do to top it? And then before the season even starts, he commits.
Yes.
That hasn't happened very often. Obviously, he was wanting to go to big brain schools. He's a very smart young man, knew what kind of school he wanted to go to, had several offers on the table. He went with Sewanee. As dad and as coach, kind of an interesting situation, but what led to his decision mainly to want to go to Sewanee, and then how big was that for him to go ahead and get that out of the way? And how much did Sewanee? What was the conversations like between you guys and Sewanee?
For dad and coach and for mom and for everybody for his siblings, it's a huge decision for us for him to be close.
For sure, yeah.
We felt like I thought early he was going to go. I'm speaking in dad talk, but we thought early that he was going to end up north at an Ivy League up there and an Ivy League school. And
he's got a big brain for it too.
Yeah, he does. I appreciate that. Sewanee just came in, man, and stayed on him really hard. Coach Rogers there, they do a great job in their recruiting. And stayed in constant contact with him. And I think for Deuce is one, stay home, be really close to home, and get to be a part of everything that we do here.
Yeah.
Whether it's school or family or whatever, a church. And I think the other part is that they showed him tons and tons of love. And Sewanee, my family's become really close with Zach Rogers, former CCS player.
Yeah.
We every time we see them, we'll talk to them, and we've been up a couple of times. And last time we were up, we got to hang out with them and tailgate with them. And it's such a family atmosphere at Sewanee. It's incredible, and it's a great place to be. And we're excited for him. Yeah, it's his decision and what he wanted to do, but staying home and staying close and they run kind of the system that we do, and he's excited about getting up there. So
for sure, yeah. I was going to mention Zach, and then a couple years ago, I don't know that he's there anymore, but Dustin Stensby was the quarterback at St. Andrew Sewanee, and he ended up signing with Sewanee and ended up being there for a couple years. So it seems like they're one of those schools that has really learned to go, look, is the kid an athlete? Okay, where did he come from? It doesn't matter. He's able of playing at the next level, and it seems like they've been able to kind of pick up on that. And it was really exciting, really, really cool to see Deuce do that because, like I said, there's not a lot of guys that have done that, committed before their senior year, especially in the 8-man world. It just doesn't happen that often. So someone special as Deuce, you knew that something was going to have to happen. It's awesome. It's awesome to see how he's been able to go through this year and not have that stress.
Yeah. It's been cool on us. We'll He's an early decision kid, so we'll know. We'll know by December, that everything's done, and we can kind of relax through the remainder of the year, take care of school, go play a little basketball and a little baseball, and get ready to go and go to Swanee and go to school and play a little football.
Hey, throughout the season, obviously it hasn't been the bombs away, dominate season. You guys, took a couple lumps, especially early on in the year with Providence Franklin Christian. You guys handled business there in the middle part of the season. And then going into not last night, but the week before with Grace Baptist, really big game in terms of where everything was going to stand. Grace with a win had a chance to go to the 2 seed, and everything could have been kind of real shook up there. You guys handled business though in a big way, and of course handled business last night. But in that game specifically, going into that, what was the talk around the guys in terms of, hey, what was the thing y'all were focused on in terms of handling business and beating Grace, who you guys do have a little history with?
Yeah. I guess the earlier part of the year, I don't think we really knew who we were yet. You mentioned earlier, you lose guys like Lane Spurlock and Elijah Moore and a couple other guys.
Oh, I forgot about Elijah. Yeah.
Yeah, you lose those guys, and I don't think we knew who LCA football, what we were exactly. I think we've kind of figured it out. Some days I still don't think we know who we are because of how we do things. But, some days you're just like, well, maybe we're not this. But, going into Grace, there is a little bit of history there. We played them in the conference final last year. And it's kind of one of those things. Somebody gets a piece of you, I think the competitor and everybody wants to take another shot at them, and hopefully you can get a piece of them. So it was just, hey, another shot at playing a good football team and playing somebody that's got a piece of us. So let's go see if we can get that piece back. So, and that's what we tried to do that week.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in the last couple of years too, you guys have had to go on the road in the first round and make the trip up to White House. And 3 years ago they got the better of y'all, and there was a whole series there. And then the last couple of years kind of handled business. Last night, how awesome was it to get that first round playoff game and have it be at home, where you gave your seniors another home game and the chance to play a game of that magnitude in front of your home crowd and give your guys the chance to kind of keep that familiar routine that they had with a home game.
Yeah, I think it was big for us. So anytime you can play in front of your crowd, I mean, you
guys have a wild crowd too.
We do. They have a good time with it, and we've got I think the cool thing about our program, and I'm sure it's at other places like this, is that it's not just high school kids coming. It's just not the parents of kids that play. It's we have parents that have second graders in our school, or K-5R kids, and they're at the games. We've went from the days when you got really small crowds to where everybody at the school is coming. It's become it's just not a football program. It's a family at LCA, and we're going to support each other in anything we do. And to play in front of, we love playing at home. We love playing in front of our crowd, and we love our atmosphere. And if it's not for our fans and parents, man, we don't have that atmosphere. So we love playing at home any chance we get.
Hey, you've got another boy coming up too, behind Deuce, and he's gotten some time at quarterback. How cool is it? And I'm not saying the starting quarterback position is going to be handed to him. By all means, you got to earn it every single time. But if he does win the job and he is the starting quarterback, how cool is it to have your boys back to back, kind of be leaders of the team, be able to have that kind of communication with them that a lot of coaches don't get that opportunity to have.
Oh, it's going to be super cool. This year I've got to witness my oldest throwing a touchdown pass to my youngest.
That's awesome.
Landon, we call him Dizzle around the house. Dizzle had Dizzle last night. We lost Deuce. Deuce rolled his ankle again. I don't know, maybe third quarter, and we insert Dizzle into the game. And the question from the OC was, "Hey, do you want to run it, or we're going to run it?" Or he basically told him, "Hey, we're going to run the football." And Dizzle's like, "No, we're going to throw it. We throw an out route for a touchdown." And he's not Deuce, but he's Dizzle, and we love what we've got coming up. And like you said, it's not going to be handed to him. He's going to have to work for it. But it's really cool to get to see them play together. But it's maybe it's an advantage having them under your roof where you can talk football
for that. Sorry, go
it's
ahead.
probably a little it's probably a little more stressful on mom than it is dad. But yeah, it's a pretty cool situation. So
Coming up Friday night, you guys go on the road again to Providence Christian. You were there earlier this year. The game didn't go your way, 40-26 loss. But you guys have another shot at them, just like you had another shot at South Haven. This time
yeah.
being on the road in their crowd. What are you telling the guys going into that game, and what are you guys trying to do going into obviously the announcement's already made. They're going 11-man next year, so this is kind of like their if they lose, it's done. But if they win, they move on.
So ton of respect for those guys. Coach Ferg over there does a great job. And what's crazy about that group over there is he's got one assistant that I played with at Smyrna High School. He's got another assistant that I worked with years and years ago in the insurance business. He's got another coach over there that was a part of our school that it kind of a spiritual mentor to me for a few years. So it's a really cool situation. I'm sure Coach Ferg and I will talk at some point either today or tomorrow or early this week. So hey, so it's colder and it's playoff time, and it should be a great game. So we're excited about going to play those guys, but we got to show up and have some things go our way.
Looking forward to next, and Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me. Looking forward a little bit to next year. You know what you guys have coming back. Kind of what you're looking for with your program. Is there anybody you look at and you go, man, I really, really want to take it, not take a shot, but I really want an opportunity to play these guys. This would be a cool game. Is there anybody that comes to mind when you think about that?
Not really. Not thinking that far ahead.
For sure,
trying to stay in the moment. I like to travel. I'd love to travel this year. We tried to do that some this year. Shout out to you, man, trying to help us find a game when we lost our homecoming game, and I was calling teams from the Midwest trying to find football games. But
for sure,
I think it'd be cool to travel. I just don't know, who that opponent is, and I got so much respect for these guys outside of Tennessee and what they're doing. It'd be cool to get outside at some point, but I couldn't really put a name on who I'd want to go play.
Well, there's a bunch of teams in Alabama that There you got a couple options there. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me. Good luck Friday night and on the playoff game with Providence Christian, and looking forward to seeing what you guys can do coming up the rest of the season.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Coach, I appreciate you. That's Coach Jason Bragg from Lancaster Christian. Got a big game coming up Friday night against Providence Christian. So let's look through real quick, and I know might have had a couple audio issues there with our software. So if we missed any of it, I apologize. Let's roll through real quick how the postseason looks. So let's start with the SEC, the SEAC Conference. On Saturday, you have two playoff games. Two playoff games. You got one at 12 o'clock. You've got Zion Christian at Tennessee Heat, and that game happening in Mount Juliet. And then at 7 o'clock, you've got Franklin Classical School, the Knights, heading down to Freedom to take on the Cowboys down in Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm kind of curious. I want to see when the last time these two played each other, because these are two of the older programs. And when they played each other this past season, that game was in Franklin. So let me look at this game history real quick. Let's see. And, of course, Tennessee, like I said, Tennessee Heat, Freedom Cowboys are the home teams this Saturday, rather. So Franklin Classical and Freedom. So the last time the Knights were in, let's see, they played in 2017. And I believe that game was at Classical, yes. So, let's see. Looks like 2007, maybe? Yeah, so 2007 would have been the last time that Franklin Classical played at the Freedom Cowboys, so 15 years ago. Let's see, what was the date of that game? It's pretty close to the date. It was October 19th, so it's relatively close. 10 days off. They were in the conference together. I don't remember the name of the conference, but Franklin Classical played at Freedom Cowboys was 2007, and they played each other earlier that season, and then in 2005 as well. So a couple SEAC playoff games Saturday. It's Zion Christian at Tennessee Heat at 12. Franklin Classical at Freedom Cowboys at 7. Cowboys and the Knights played each other earlier this year. Freedom got the 22-6 win, a little bit closer win than everyone I think anticipated. And then Zion Christian and Tennessee Heat did not get the chance to play each other this season. So just with the way the divisions were set up, and so this is the first matchup between those two schools. Let's go to the ACSC because their playoffs to take on Evangel Christian up in Alabaster. And so that game, both of those games will happen on Friday night. And I know the Evangel Ezekiel game will be broadcasted by Evangel Christian's YouTube channel. So if you're sorry about that, lost internet there for a second. So all right, and there we go. All right, we should be back. Should be good to go. Let's double check a couple things. Sorry about that, having a couple internet issues. It's the fun part of a live show. There's no editing. There's no hey, we can go back and fix this in post. It's on the go for sure. Let's see if we can get this brought back up. I think we're good. Let's double check real quick. All right, so that is the SEC and the ACSC. Let's go to the AISA. Last week of regular season play taking place this Friday night. And, of course, the biggest game is Evangel Christian out of Montgomery, the Lions, taking on Southern Prep Academy, the Fighting Rangers. That game is also going to be on YouTube, on the Southern Prep YouTube channel. So you can go check that out as well. Speaking of that conference, mention that game. And then there's Meadowview Christian at Southern Christian again. And I think distance-wise they're close. So they might be playing again. Southern Christian coming in at 2-5. Meadowview Christian at 0-10. So that game taking place on Friday night as well as the Southern Prep Evangel Christian Montgomery game. Let's jump to the CFA. First round of the playoffs will start this Friday night. And we're going to have a great first round of playoffs. Tabernacle Christian is going to be on the road at Jacksonville Christian in Jacksonville, Alabama. These two teams played earlier this season, and I want to pull up the score for that game because I don't want to misquote it. Of course, Lighthouse Homeschool in East Central Homeschool played 2 weeks ago in the ACSC. East Central got the win, and then Evangel beat Ezekiel earlier on in the year. Since I mentioned how they did during the regular season for this SEC, wanted to mention that for the ACSC as well. So Tabernacle and Jacksonville played earlier this year. Jacksonville got the win, but it was 58-52, so a really, really close game between the Thunder and the Torches. So that game happening Friday night at 7 o'clock. And the other playoff game happening in the CFA, Tuscaloosa Christian, the Warriors, they are on the road in Mississippi. Actually, it's not that far, really. It's about an hour, hour and a half from Tuscaloosa to Meridian, Mississippi, where they'll take on Russell Christian and those Warriors. They played earlier on this year, first game of the year for those teams. And Russell Christian got the win 26-12. So the number 1 and number 2 seeds getting the win over the number 3 and 4 seeds they're facing respectively. But they were close games. So we're set up for a great first round of the playoffs from the CFA. Of course, in the TSIAA mentioned, second round of the playoffs coming up this Friday night. Lancaster Christian is on the road to take on Providence Christian. And Christian Community will be in Franklin to take on FCA. The Falcons coming into the night at 6-0 in the conference and 6-1 overall record. So a lot of history between the Colts and the Falcons. And last time when they played earlier this year, let me pull that score up real quick. By the way, when Lancaster and Providence played, I mentioned earlier, 40-26, Lancaster got the win. And if I can get one of these two teams to pull up for Franklin Christian and Christian Community, I'll pull up the score from that game as well. Let me try one more way. Let's see. Let's see. I know Franklin Christian got the win. But I think the game was at CCS. Yes, it was the first game of the year. Franklin Christian, Christian Community, first game of the year for both teams, and the Falcons got the 44-8 win. So two different teams facing off on Friday night in the TSI AA. Let's go to North Carolina and the NCISAA. They are going into their final week of play as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe their final week of play is this week. Let's double check that real quick. Let's see. Probably should have had this pulled up beforehand. Yes, final week of play this week, and then 3 rounds of the playoffs for the NCISAA. So we'll back up real quick and look at the games coming up this Friday night. So you've got Faith Christian, and they were supposed to take on St. David's, who earlier canceled their season, so I believe Faith Christian has a bye. Cary Christian taking on Wayne Christian, the two champions of their respective conferences last year, or divisions rather, the Colonial Carolina and the Big 8. They will face off on Friday night. And then Arundel Parrott Academy at 7-1. They are headed to John Paul II Catholic School on Friday night. 7-1 for Arundel Parrott, 9-0 for JP2, and I believe that includes some 11-man games for both of those teams. So a couple big games there in the NCISAA. I'm going to look at the standings real quick. Let's see how it's shaking out for them, because I believe they do a 6-team playoff as well. Top 2 seeds get a first-round bye. So where it sits right now, JP2 is 4-0 in conference play. Arundel Parrott is 4-0. Cary Christian's 2-2. Rocky Mount Academy is 2-3. Wayne Christian is 1-3, and Faith Christian is 0-5. So I believe JP2 and Arundel Parrott have locked up the number 1 and number 2 seeds in that conference, and they will get a first-round bye. The battle Friday night is just to see who gets the 1 seed, who gets the 2 seed. Cary Christian and Wayne Christian. If Wayne wins, they go 2-3 with Cary, and then they get the tiebreaker. And I believe Wayne beat Rocky Mount, if I'm not mistaken. That was the game. Let's see. Let's look at Wayne Christian real quick. Wayne Christian and Rocky Mount. So Rocky Mount beat them 42-40. That's right. That was a couple weeks ago. So if Wayne Christian wins, then Rocky Mount will go on the road. No, Rocky Mount will be at home, and they will host Faith Christian. And then Wayne Christian will turn around and host Cary Christian again. So there's that. So there's the playoffs for the NCISAA. Let's go to South Carolina, where I mentioned the Pack Panthers have locked up the number 1 seed. Coastal Hurricanes are the 2 seed. Couple conference games last week of the regular season for the SIFA. Harvest Christian is on the road at the Augusta Eagles, and the Pack Panthers are at Orangeburg Christian. Now Orangeburg Christian 0-7, Pack at 8-1. Harvest Christian 2-5. Augusta is 3-6, and I'll pull up the conference standings real quick for these guys. Pack Panthers are currently 7-0 in conference play. Actually, I think they're, let's see. Yeah, 7-0 in conference play. Coastal Hurricanes are 5-2, and they, I think they stay there at 5-2, so they have the number 2 seed. And then I mentioned Augusta and Harvest are playing. That's a big one because earlier this year, I believe Augusta beat Harvest. Let's see. Yeah, Augusta beat Harvest 68-42. So with the win for Augusta on Friday night, they will go to the Coastal Hurricanes, and then Harvest Christian will be on the road at the Pack Panthers. They take the top 4 out of those 5 teams, and they are in the postseason, which the first round, I believe, starts next week, next Friday night. Let's go to the Heartland Conference, and I mentioned the way they do their playoffs is it's a BCS voting style, poll style, and then the top 4 from 2A and 3A get in. So currently, I mentioned who the 1 and the 2 are in each division. I'll mention that here in a minute. But coming up on Thursday night, last week of the season, for this conference, Thursday night, Crossover Prep is at Destiny Christian, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to pull those standings up one more time because I want to make sure they're both in 2A. So Crossover Prep and Destiny. Okay, Crossover is the number 1 seed in 2A. Destiny is the 3 seed in 3A. And then on Friday night, Trinity Christian is at Abundant Life. Both of those teams in 3A. Trinity is the 4 seed. Abundant Life is the 1 seed. Cross Christian is at Southwest Christian. Cross Christian, the number 6 seed in 2A. And Southwest is the 2 seed in 2A. And then there's some games on Saturday as well. Arkansas Christian is at Unity Christian. Arkansas is the 5 seed. Unity is the 3 seed. And then Claremore Christian has a non-conference game against the Cornerstone Spartans. Claremore is the 4 seed there in 2A. So, a lot of football happening this upcoming Friday night. And real quick, for the sake of knowing, I want to see who KC East will be playing, as well as Fort Wayne, just to kind of, with those teams being covered by the NHSA and their ranking system, kind of see who they're taking on coming up on Friday night. So coming up on Saturday, it's KC East at the Wichita Warriors. That game being played at 3 p.m. And then I also want to jump over to Fort Wayne King Crusaders. See if they've got a game this weekend. And they do not, I believe. No, they do not have a game this weekend. So there you go. There is your slate of 8-man football coming up for this weekend. Whole lot of games, whole lot of exciting games, as I mentioned. Saturday, 12 p.m., it's Zion Christian at the Tennessee Heat. And then at 7 p.m., it is Franklin Classical at the Freedom Cowboys. I'll be at both. I'll be broadcasting both. You might ask, how does that happen? Well, you just do it. It's 2 hours between them. It'll be all good. So, that'll do it for Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, and Complete Wealth Management. There we go. Extreme Talk presented by Complete Wealth Management, Complete Real Estate, one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. Saturday, doubleheader playoffs. Let's go. See ya!